and welcome back. If you're new to us, you're here at EdGEucating, where our goal is to keep you on the cutting edge of education. I'm Alicia Verwee, and today we're going to be talking all about those dreaded EdTech fears. Today we're going to transform those fears into faith in yourself and into EdTech. Before we get started, I need you to do just a few quick things for me. Make sure that you smash that like button for us. Share this video with others that can benefit, and be sure that you subscribe to our channel. We want to keep bringing you these great videos, and don't forget to hit that bell so that you're notified every time we post a new one. We're going to go ahead and jump in so we can start transforming those fears into faith. Let's get started. Now, I'm going to start off with a little secret, because a lot of you that know me now, when I say this, you're going to be like, no way. But it really is true. When I first started in the classroom, I was never afraid of technology, but I was afraid of utilizing the technology with my students. And a lot of it had to do with a control issue. I was always afraid that I'm planning my lesson around this. What if it doesn't work today? You know, what if the internet's down? What if? And so I quickly learned that I had to stop worrying about the what ifs, because it was a necessary skill for my students to learn. I want to start with a quote for you today. One of the greatest discoveries man makes is to find that he can do what he was afraid he couldn't do. That's a quote from Henry Ford. Now, that is exactly what I want to instill in each and every one of you today with this video, is you are afraid of something that you can do, and the biggest problem that you're having is the fear. So we're going to address the fear today. We're going to talk about each of the things that you need to look at and that you need to be mindful of, so that you can really overcome this fear and make your classroom an awesome place, not just for yourself and making it more streamlined for you to do your job, but also making it a better place for your students. And believe it or not, guys, many of you are dismissing the fact of the importance of technology being part of what you are teaching students. And that comes with teaching them that it isn't always reliable. It has hiccups. It's not perfect. But guess what? Neither are you as the teacher. So that perfect lesson that you planned without technology, you can still mess up with that too. So I think that's really the biggest thing, is just remembering that life isn't supposed to be perfect, and that will help alleviate a lot of these fears. Students are growing up with this technology. It is a part of their life, whether we like it or not. And so one of the big things that they need to learn is that it does have hiccups. It does have new things we have to learn. They did run an update overnight that we all of a sudden don't know how to use, and that's okay, because that is life and it's part of what we have to expect. It's just like a student having to learn that life doesn't always go their way. So this is really important, and so we're going to jump in, just talk about some of the fears that you have and ways that you can conquer these. So starting with the first is to modify your mindset. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, it's exactly what Henry Ford said in his quote. Stop saying that you can't do something. Address what needs to be done, get it out of your mind that you can't, and just do it. Go for it. Know that you're going to have hiccups along the way, and it doesn't have to be perfect before you do it with students. Let them learn with you. And guys, I'll tell you, you'll be surprised at how much they will teach you. And they'll love the fact of knowing that they taught you. It will change the dynamic in such an awesome and amazing way in your classroom. When I learned to do this in my classroom and let go of that control, it changed the way that I did everything, not just technology. And it really changed it for the better. And it changed the relationship that I also had with my students. So let go of the mindset of control. So open your mind. That is the first step. So let go of the control is the next one. This is usually the most difficult one for us to accept as teachers. We feel like everything in our classroom needs to be perfectly planned out with this infallible plan that has to go so smoothly for it to be this great lesson. We hear a lot about flipped classrooms today. And this isn't just about a video or that sort of thing and letting the students do that. But this is also about, in the day and age of technology, Flip the script. Let the students become the teachers. Let them learn the technology with you. Let them help teach you. Now, in addition, what this is going to teach the students, self-confidence, because they're going to realize they can do things that they didn't think that they could. But it's also going to boost those problem-solving skills that they so desperately need for the workforce this day and age. So you are still teaching them. Just because it isn't that ELA or that math lesson that you might be trying to do, you're teaching them some very real-world skills that if they don't have those, all the ELA and the math and the science in the world isn't going to get them that great job for the future, because this is where we're headed, guys, and technology is a part of everything that we do. So letting them start with these real world skills of figuring it out in the classroom is the best scenario. Give them that confidence, give them those research skills, give them those problem solving abilities, and let them flip the script. Let them help teach you how to use the technology. They will respect you. They will not look at you as someone who doesn't know. I mean, they will, but they will look at you in a different light. They will see you as a human, and they will respect the fact that you don't try to pretend that you know everything. So let go of that control, flip the script, and do that flipped classroom, but do it learning the technology. Next is take it slow. Don't try to integrate too many things too fast. If you have a fear, take those baby steps, one little step at a time. Also, I find that people who don't fear technology tend to have this problem. They try to integrate too many things, and then because one failed, it sort of had this ripple effect, and so now they have a negative attitude toward all of that technology that they lumped in together. So really take your time, take one thing at a time, figure it out, and then move on to the next. Don't try to do a whole lot of new stuff all at once. Also, if you start allowing the students to be part of that process, this is going to change the culture in your classroom. And what you're going to find is going to happen is the students will begin to ask to implement the new things. They will look forward to it. You just changed their mindset. They now want to explore. They now want to take on these new projects. Guys, this is a skill we have to give our students as they move forward in this new society, in this new world, in this new future that we don't know what kind of jobs we're preparing them for. We need to instill that curiosity. We need to instill those problem-solving skills, and this is just another way to do that. So take it slow, and the kids will also appreciate it because they won't feel pressured to figure out a whole lot of new stuff really quickly or all at one time. So take it easy on yourself, hence taking it easy on the students. The next big piece of advice, and this is for those EdTech pros as well as those EdTech fearful equally. Utilize what you have. Don't always be chasing the next best thing, because a lot of times what you have at your disposal is great and a wonderful resource. So start with the things that you have at hand before you go out seeking something else, because there really isn't a purpose in making your life harder or your students' life more complex for no reason. So make sure you do have a purpose with the technology that you're implementing, and that you have utilized what you already have at your fingertips. This is a multi-purpose reason. If you're using, say, Google Classroom in your school or Canva, these students are probably utilizing these same softwares in multiple classes. Make their lives as easy as possible by integrating that into your own classroom. Don't go off and be different just for the sake of being different. It does add complexity to those students' lives, and you're not going to have every student who's an EdTech student. Just because they're growing up in this day and age, they're people just like we're people. Some of them adapt better than others. So really take that into consideration, understand what they're dealing with, and really implement as much of what you already have at your disposal as possible. Up next is to let go of what doesn't work. We often feel like because we have these technologies that we have to continue to utilize them. That's not true, guys. Everything is evolving all the time in EdTech and in the technology world in general. In this 21st century and beyond, things are moving so rapidly. Figure out what works for not only you, but for your students. The things that don't work, just because they might be the hot new fad, doesn't mean that it works for your classroom. So if it doesn't work, let it go. Just make sure that it truly doesn't work, and you're not just saying that it doesn't work because you're fearful or it didn't work the first time. So make sure that you really give the due process to these things before you decide that they don't work. Because that's a lot of times what happens is the fear takes over. We hit a bump in the road, something didn't work right, and so now we just dismiss that altogether rather than trying it again and giving it a fair shake. So let go of what doesn't work, but make sure you've given it a fair shake before you make that decision. And in addition to that, give your students a say. The students will tell you what's working for them and what isn't. Now, they're not all going to agree, of course, but listen to their feedback, because that's a huge part of what you should be doing as a teacher anyway. And so if you have two things that work equally well, but the students prefer one versus the other, let them use the one they prefer. Work with your students, give them a voice, and the more that you allow them to be part of it, the better things are going to work for not just you, but for them also. And be sure to extend yourself some grace. How often do we sit in our classrooms as teachers and we preach, you have to make mistakes. If you're not making mistakes, you're not learning. And then we turn around and we act like we ourselves are not supposed to make mistakes. So if you preach this to your students, but then they never see this in you, how do you expect them to believe it? How do you expect them to adopt that as a true culture? And guys, I'm telling you, where these kids are headed, it's a world where they're going to have to learn to be okay with not having all the answers, making mistakes, problem solving, figuring it out. There are going to be so many new jobs that are changing as they're happening. These kids cannot go into a job any longer knowing every single facet of the job and being expected to not make mistakes. Not the way the world is changing. So, start this culture in your classroom. Truly live this culture. Give yourself that flexibility and that leadway and that grace to make mistakes. Again, it will reduce your stress greatly because you will go in feeling like you don't have to be perfect anymore. And guess what? You're not perfect. And your students aren't perfect, and the world isn't perfect. So give yourself that grace to be able to make the mistakes. That'll help change that mindset and that perspective that we talked about earlier of going into this knowing that you're going to screw up a little bit, and that's okay. Be real. Be human. Give yourself that grace to do that. Your students will not have a problem with it. If anything, they're going to respect you more for it. Believe me, I've done it, I've lived it, and it changes that dynamic in a great, great way. So give yourself the grace. And guys, look back on your history. Many of you that are fearful of technology, you've already come so far. You've already had the first cell phone. I mean, I remember getting my first cell phone. It was big, it was bulky, it was probably 5 pounds, and having to learn all the new features and what it did and how to operate it. This is no different. You got the first VCR, you got the first Blu-ray player. This is all technology, and it's all been things that we have transitioned. I mean, most of us don't even own a home phone anymore. We have transitioned. We stream our TV shows now. We no longer have cable. We've cut the cord. So all of these things are technological advances. The classroom is no different, and you have to forge forward. You have to progress. It is necessary for your students. So if you understand that you've already done this, there's really nothing to be fearful of. It's just another thing to learn. And you can do it. So have faith in yourself. Think about all of these points and tips that I've given you, and don't forget to give yourself the grace and involve your students. These things will go a long way. I've learned over the years that when one's mind is made up, this diminishes fear. Knowing what must be done does away with fear, as Rosa Parks says. So let's figure out what we need to do. How do we get started? If you're watching this video, you may be sitting here saying, I don't even know what the first steps are. I don't integrate any kind of technology in my classroom or in my work. So let's get you started with some very baby steps. The first thing you'll want to do, and I'm going to link these articles down below, so be sure and check out the description. I'll have them linked in there so you can go directly to them. The first one is the 10 technology skills that every educator needs to survive. Check those out. It's going to kind of tell you where to get started, tell you what you need, and some ways to sort of help you on this path. The next one I suggest is going to make your job a lot easier. It's 5 free mobile messaging apps for education. These are going to be great ways to keep in touch with your parents and things of that nature. So check those out. They are free resources, so they won't cost you anything. And it will make your life a lot more effective and efficient and make a lot of that stress just go away for you, because it will reduce some of your workload and the time that it takes for you to do these things. And then the third one I want to talk to you about is the 10 most productive Google Chrome extensions for teachers. That one is awesome, and I have a lot of how-to videos that go with those. So if you're worried about, I don't know how to use them, make sure and check out the links to those videos, because that will help you in utilizing those extensions if you don't know how. So I hope all of this really helps you transform your fears into faith that you can really do this EdTech thing, because you can. I'd love to hear back from you about how your journey has gone. If you've transformed the way you're thinking about EdTech, really give some encouragement. People in our community need to hear that, not just for us, we want to hear it, but also let those other folks hear that this is possible. So please drop us a comment below, let us know how this journey has worked out for you and maybe one of the best things that you've implemented. Don't forget, we need a few extra things from you just to keep this going. Make sure that you smash that like button if you like today's video. Be sure and share this with someone else that you think it's going to change their life as much as it maybe has helped and changed yours. Make sure that you subscribe to our channel so we can keep bringing you these awesome videos, and don't forget to hit that bell so that you're notified every time we post a new one. Always a pleasure to be with you guys. We hope this is helping keep you on the cutting edge of education, and we're looking forward to seeing you here next time. Happy teaching!